Hey guys, we are making hot cross buns today. Welcome back to Never Tasted Better. My name is Sarah. So if you have never had a hot cross bun before, you're in the right place. They're a soft, sweetened roll, slightly spiced with cinnamon and nutmeg, studded with raisins, and on the top is a powdered sugar glaze. It's just so delicious. Hot cross buns are rich with history. They date all the way back to the 12th century. Honestly, I don't know why they're not more popular nowadays. They're so delicious and fluffy, very addicting. I hope you guys are able to try this recipe. These rolls are not hard to make at all. There's a few steps that we gotta do. I'll walk you through it. Before we get started, let's take a quick look at our ingredients to see what we need. Ingredients are 3½ cups all-purpose flour, 3/4 cup whole milk divided, 1/2 cup and 1/4 cup, 2 large eggs at room temperature, 1/4 cup white sugar, 1/4 cup light brown sugar, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon and 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 2 1/4 teaspoons of active dry yeast, 2 teaspoons of pure vanilla extract, and I have 1 large orange. We're going to zest this guy and juice him. We also will need 1/2 cup raisins and 4 tablespoons of softened butter. First, we are going to bloom our yeast. So in a rounded measuring cup, I'm going to add 1/4 cup of very warm milk, 2 1/4 teaspoons of our yeast, and a pinch of our sugar. We're going to stir this together and let it sit for 10 minutes. Now, if your yeast does not foam up, that means it's bad. Go get some new yeast if that happens. We will be adding a few tablespoons of fresh orange juice to 1/2 cup of raisins. We're going to do this because it just gives those raisins a little extra flavor boost. Microwave them for 45 seconds and let them cool off. Don't forget to zest your entire orange. This gives it that citrus flavor. Set all of that aside, and in a very large bowl, we're gonna start making our dough. So add 1/2 cup of very, very warm milk. Make sure it's even maybe a little hot. Then we're going to add our very softened butter, 4 tablespoons of softened butter. Start stirring your butter and your milk together. You want that butter to start to melt. Once that gets melted a little bit, we're going to add our brown sugar and also our white sugar. Don't forget to add in your teaspoon of salt. And stir this all together using a wooden spoon. This dough really is the easiest to make. It's just a matter of a few steps, that's all. Add in your orange zest, that's where that citrus touch comes from. Also your yeast. Your yeast should be really puffy by now and foamy. That's perfect. Now add in your 2 large eggs. Make sure you beat them before you add them in. This will just help them get better incorporated into your batter. I mixed my batter with my wooden spoon as I went along. Now I'm going to add in my pure vanilla extract. Mix it up, and we're ready to add in our flour. I added just a little in at a time, about 1 cup at a time. Keep stirring it. Once it comes together, add in about another cup. Do it again, stir it up. Your mixture is going to look a little bit of a mess, but that's normal. Add in the rest of your flour until your mixture comes together and resembles a ball of dough. Don't forget to add in your spices. I almost forgot. Go ahead and mix it up until those spices are blended in. Now that our dough has come together, we have one of 2 choices. Either we can knead this by hand for 10 minutes, or we can put it in the mixer and let the mixer do the work with dough hooks for 10 minutes. I think I'm gonna go with the mixer method. Transfer all of your dough over to a large mixer. I transferred it over to my Bosch mixer. This mixer is a beast. It really can handle a lot of work. So I added the raisins after I started mixing it together. Reserve that juice, you don't want your dough too wet, and let it go for 10 minutes. While that's going, let's butter a large glass bowl. This is where we're going to put the dough once it's done kneading. After about waiting 10 minutes, and this guy has been kneading for that long, your dough is going to be smooth. It's going to be very sticky. So don't get frustrated when you're working with it. It's going to be a little tough to get out of the bowl, but once all of your dough is in your buttered dish, we're going to pick it up and flip it over because we want the top of the dough to be greased as well. Put it on top of my stove, which I had preheated at 300 degrees. Let it rise for 1.5 hours. Our dough has puffed up a little bit, so we're ready to roll it out and make our rolls. Grease a 13 by 9 inch pan with plenty of butter and set it aside. And then you're going to heavily flour a hard, clean surface. Have a bench scraper standing by. You will need this later. Put all of your enriched dough onto your floured surface and then start rolling it out into a log. Make sure your hands are heavily floured so the dough doesn't stick to your fingers. Cut the log directly in the center, place one of those halves aside, and focus your attention on the half in front of you. When I work with dough, I try to always reflour my surface by brushing flour underneath my dough. So reshape this guy back into somewhat of a log form, and we need to cut him into 6 even-sized pieces. Cut your dough into 3 equal-sized pieces, and then we're going to take each piece and cut that in half. Once our dough has been cut, we're ready to shape them into balls. This process isn't hard. You just tuck the ends underneath so all of the edges are underneath, and then we're going to place them on the hard surface and just scooch them around using your hands until the underneath is smooth and it has a beautiful ball shape. I felt like a professional. Look how perfect these little balls of dough came out. So repeat this process with your other log of dough, cut them into their shapes, and then shape them into balls. These guys need to rise for another 30 minutes, so cover them again with a warm, damp dishcloth, place them on the stove where it's warm, and let them rise. While they are rising, we're going to work on our egg wash, which is really simple. Just 1 large egg, 1 teaspoon of whole milk, beat that until it's homogeneous. Using a pastry brush, brush it all over the tops and the sides of your rolls. This really gives it that classy look. Bake these guys at 375 degrees for 15 to 17 minutes until they're golden brown. Once they're done baking, we're going to let them cool off almost completely or until they're a little warm. Making the glaze is easy peasy. We're going to sift 1 cup of powdered sugar into a small bowl, make a little bit of a mess on the table, clean it up, and then we're going to add 3 tablespoons of fresh orange juice to our powdered sugar. This is really going to give it that citrus flavor as well as that orange zest inside of our rolls. So trust me on this one, it's delicious. If you absolutely hate orange juice, you could use milk instead, I guess. I'm going to be using a small piping bag, which I'm going to put in a glass, roll down the edges, and pour your glaze right in. This way works best. You can use a Ziploc bag and just snip off the ends, but I happen to have some piping bags that I'm not using in my cabinet. Be careful when snipping off the end, that glaze is ready to pop right out. So once your rolls are warm and they're almost cooled off, we can start making our X's on our rolls. I love this part. I thought it looked so old school and traditional style. It's so much fun to do this. I'm not that great at decorating, but this I can do. The smell of these rolls, by the way, was intoxicating. Probably the best my kitchen has ever smelled. These smell so good. I've been looking forward to this moment for about 3 hours now. That is so soft, slightly spiced and sweet. That glaze on top gives it that extra little bit of sweetness with the orange juice. Is delicious. I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like. Please subscribe down below. Also, if you love bread videos, you should go check out my Irish soda bread recipe I just made. This bread is delicious and it's super easy to make. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.